Stay the fuck away, stay the fuck away. Stay the fuck away, stay the fuck away. Hello, everyone. My name is Sean Patrick because my wife said she wouldn't marry a guy named Frankie Mermaid. Now then, Sandy, where are my notes? Look, you knew I was getting ready for the show. What are my notes doing on the kitchen counter? Yes, I know. That's where I told you what to write. Look, just get them for me. Yes, I was just about to distract them with the kittens and pineapples. Thank you for giving it away. Whoa! Sandy, where are my shorts? Well, what are they doing on the kitchen counter? We never keep underpants there. Okay, yes, there was that one time. Folks, tuna noodle casserole is not improved in any way with the use of underpants. Look, just never mind all that now. I have to do my show. Just leave me alone. It's so hard to imagine good health these days. So, virtual hugs and kisses go to the WHO, as Trump is blaming them for China's poor reporting. And more about that in a minute. First of all, it seems necessary to point out again that the only concrete we have right now is that which we walk on and live in. I understand that it is really hard to toe the line as we are, but instead of focusing on that difficulty, I suggest that we focus on the fact that we have a far lower death count per capita than many countries in similar phases of this epidemic. That shows that the lockdown of the borders is working, the physical distancing is working, and we need to keep working. We're not through this yet. Yes, our economy is suffering, but it's money or lives. Any misstep right now can change the light at the end of the tunnel into a runaway freight train. Discussions of what can open and when are a waste of time at present because what we do tomorrow has to be gauged by what has happened today. And that is the only way we can move toward these goals. Now, in the addresses, there were 2 points that came up repeatedly. The first was a continuation from yesterday about deploying the military in long-term care homes. The first time it was asked, I laughed out loud. Well, you see, several members of the 1st Royal Knitting Brigade have been injured by using metal needles instead of plastic, and the Auxiliary Diaper Squad just hasn't had enough training yet. But then it came up again today, I think from the same reporter, who this time suggested that the troops be deployed to deliver meals and pick up garbage. Now, even though I'm sure that our fine members of the Canadian Armed Forces can figure out how to do those things, there's something you need to understand. In the pre-ICI days, once troops are deployed, they can only do a certain number of tours and then must have time off. Now, with the ICI, not only do troops still need that downtime in between, they have to observe the quarantine rules before being redeployed. So, what if the expected floods and forest fires happen while our troops are fluffing pillows and cleaning flower beds or are in quarantine? Is there anyone else we can send to take care of those things? Well, no, but there's been a lot of talk about jobs lost and specifically students needing summer work. Delivering meals and picking up garbage sounds like something they could do. The other main point is the Grinch, Trump attacks Whoville. Last night, Trump announced that he is cutting his funding or the U.S.'s funding to the WHO for improper collection and dissemination of information, as it has come to light that China wasn't entirely honest in its reporting. This has caused our journalists to ask our politicians things like, are you satisfied the organization, meaning WHO, sufficiently interrogated the information from China? Do you think they did a good job? And saying things like, conservatives and others have raised concerns that the WHO was too willing to take the word of the Chinese regime. Look, the WHO can only pass on what information it's given, and it has no way to interrogate or force a country to report properly, especially in the case of a very politically closed country like China. And if you look at the WHO's very first coronavirus situation report issued on January 21st, Even if the numbers aren't exact, they clearly state that the icky can be transmitted from person to person, and they fully activated all of their resources at that time. As with everything to do with Trump, it's about his numbers. And since he's being slammed for inaction, he's merely trying to pass the buck. Trump has such a fascination with numbers, and when he sees numbers he doesn't like, he distorts and twists them or calls them fake news. Makes me wonder if he's been reporting accurately to the WHO. Now, kiddies, we need to talk about mixed messages again. This time it involves restaurants. At present, many restaurants and fast food joints are allowed to keep operating for takeout food only. Several people have asked, why is that safe? Why doesn't that risk the spreading of the icky? Fact is that it does increase the risk of the spread, and here's why. I spent a good 15 years working in kitchens ranging from McDonald's to ultra high class restaurants, and I can tell you that I have never seen a kitchen that it is possible for staff to observe the physical distancing regulations. Kitchens are hot, and all PPE aside from masks are made to be impermeable, so the staff would be literally melting. While nobody has tried to say this, and there is no evidence that the icky can be transmitted by sweat, I still don't want to eat it. Then there's also the fact that according to the Government of Canada's website, the virus can stay viable up to 24 hours on cardboard and as much as 3 days on metals and plastics. That's why, when an employee falsified a doctor's note saying that they had COVID, they weren't just sent home, the restaurant was shut for 2 days and disinfected. Not because of food, but because of transmission from surfaces. There is also belief, as yet not fully proven, that asymptomatic people can also transmit the icky. Between that and the virus's lingering viability, what's on the packaging of that takeout food? The only people who don't have access to kitchens to cook for themselves also don't have the money to be spending on takeout. There isn't anywhere that Fast Eddie's is the only source of food, and calling fast food a necessity is ludicrous. If all this is true, why are these restaurants allowed to operate? Well, there are 3 reasons. First of all, a lot of these places are making meals for frontline workers. And, sorry folks. And people in homes or shelters, which is absolutely lovely of them. But to be able to do this, we come to reason 2, which is the economy. Not only do they need to have some money coming in so that they can help the aforementioned people, we still need to have some semblance of an economy, and we need to keep at least some restaurants from going out of business. The third is morale. The world is flipped, and life as we know it is way scarier, far more dangerous, and far more demanding than it has ever been. After a long day of cowering under the blankets or serving your fellow human, it's nice to order a pizza or whatever sort of special takeout your family enjoys. It's nice to not have to cook sometimes. So, to those who are putting themselves at serious risk to provide help to their fellow humans, be it nutritionally, monetarily, or just making us feel like maybe it isn't the end of the world, I salute you. On a happy note, squirrels. Squirrels? Free groceries. CTV News has reported that the Loblaws at Bathurst and St. Clair in Toronto had not been closed properly for Easter Sunday, and several people entered to find the escalator running and the lights and radio were on. Eventually, it became apparent that there was no staff, and thus something must be wrong. One shopper said they had seen 3 people leaving who had written down what they had taken so that they could return the next day to pay their bills. And this wasn't a first. CTV News had also reported a similar story from Kingston's Food Basics on February 28th. In this case, several shoppers had left lists of what they took and money to cover it. A store manager said later that nothing was missing. Good on you, shoppers. And on that note, let's call it a night. So stay the fuck away from each other and wash everything. A lot.